You're watching the Chaos Protocol on Transplanar RPG, an all-transgender, people-of-color-led dark fantasy TTRPG show set in an original non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse. If you like what you see, please consider pledging to our Patreon to support the show and get access to a patron-only after-show, early podcast episodes, GM notes, character sheets, and even the chance for your tabletop OC to cameo in our series. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy. The Chaos Protocol is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. Content warnings for this episode include romance, flirting, alcohol, complex and complicated relationships, grief, spiders, beetles, cocoons, bug horror, swarms, body horror, falling, and references to fire, immolation, pollution, and environmental collapse. Arc 1, Episode 22. Toward Hidden Glory. From Self-Eulogy of a Martyr by Connie Chong. The sunset smells like oak, moss, mead. Axel, you and Iphigenia lean against the railing of the fourth guide, watching the last of the light flee from the sky. The wild sea is always beautiful, but her beauty is particularly ferocious at dusk. The insects flitting through the air, the whispering leaves, the groaning of the guide's broadwood decks, polished from fresh scrubbing, hard and pliant under your boots. Iffy swigs a bottle, but she's not really tasting the alcohol. You can tell. The wind works its invisible fingers through her hair, dark, tangled tresses that obscure perfectly black eyes, like chips of burnt iron. Her elbows are propped on the banister, her hard jaw set, the muscles of her back and chest taut with contemplation as she gazes across the verdant sea. Tomorrow, Axel, you will become first mate, and there will be a party that you will never forget. But tonight, you're just Axel, and she is just Iffy. Hey, Ax, what's your dream?
I think I've already found it. Just this.
Oh, come off it. You've got to have some greater design. You're Axel.
I'm happy to sail the verdant sea. A ship of my own, maybe one day. You and me calling the shots.
I don't know about calling the shots. I don't mind doing what Captain Strophius tells me to do.
He's a good man. But wouldn't it be cool to have a ship that was just full of creatures and exciting new tastes and sounds and cultures and
smells and foods and clothes and friends. Yeah. That's what I love about you, Axel. There's never enough wild sea for you.
Never.
I think they take the bottle of mead back from you, right? And they swig thoughtfully, looking out over the burgeoning dusk. I don't know if I really have a dream. I guess the closest thing to having a dream for me is... I ragged on you for saying this, but I guess I'm the same way, just the same as it always has been, you know? Protecting others, defending the fourth guide, hanging out with you.
But you have to want maybe like one thing for yourself, Iffy. I mean, you are the most powerful protector I've ever known, but...
Go on.
Stop.
No, seriously, please keep waxing eloquent about how powerful I am, how big my biceps are. You know, the twins measured it the other day. It's bigger than a watermelon.
Oh, for goodness sake. Have you continued crushing watermelons below deck?
Well, I mean, someone's got to do it, right? The rig-ferrets love it. They love crushed watermelon, and who am I to deny them the simple pleasure of a bicep-squeezed watermelon rind?
You're always in service of others. When will you be in service of yourself, Iffy?
And this is a common refrain from your mouth toward Iffy, I think, and kind of brushes you off casually, but even as she takes another swig, there is a mote of deeper trouble in her eyes, as there has been as of late whenever you bring this up. It's been easy enough for her to brush it off when you were younger, adolescents, children even, but now that you're fully adults coming into your own, the question of who she is, who she wants to be, is hanging over her, hanging over you too. I mean, what's the point of being so big and strong if I don't put it to use? You know, it's a waste otherwise to just use it for myself. Selfish, one might say. And I'm anything if not selfish. The opposite of that. Unselfish.
Iffy, if only you could see yourself the way that I see you. You're not just big and brawling. As big as your biceps are, you are kind and smart and dexterous and so beautiful and capable. You're not just a tank. You don't just have to take the hits.
But I don't really know what value I can give the ship if I don't.
You are valuable by simply being here. You bring value to me every day when, I don't know, you're just here.
Man, only you could say something like that and have it not sound cheesy. Upcoming first mate.
You see, so Axel sort of sensing if he's kind of discomfort or shyness, and in order to soothe that, Axel is a very tactile individual, because they have so many points of touch, actually, like millions of them, like billions of points of touch. So I'm seeing faces. I'm seeing those faces. No, your faces are very loud. But Axel sort of like embraces, kind of like shirks their skin and embraces Iffy in this sort of like multifaceted, like gentle kind of embrace, and it feels like sort of silk wrapping around you, as it's just like this warm, comforting hug.
Come here. And Iphigenia closes their arms around you and hugs you a little bit closer, right? Even as every part of you, in every way, I think, also like envelops her and hugs them back. And then I think on this moment, we fade. We yield to the darkness of twilight until everything turns black. Axel, we hold on your face, 10 years older, a little bit more worn, a little bit more tired, but charged with that same reef iron determination as 1 decade ago in the burnt down ruins of the Fourth Guide. And now you stand astride a strange ship, facing down strange sailors, and yet that word coming out of the Prin's mouth, though you've never heard it before, the name Igni, something about the way it's enunciated feels all too familiar. And then the Prin goes on to say, "You're supposed to be dead. You don't look very dead."
No. Huh. I think Axel would like to take a moment, like, as like a snapshot in this time, really trying to, like, they've been hit with this news, and now they've become very adept at doing this. They've become very adept at like processing, then reacting and responding. So they're taking the time to process what's happening. And in doing so, I think they want to use sense as like one of their edges to like, there are a lot of moving parts here. There've been some strange movements on the Verdant Sea. I'm supposed to be dead. This person, I think, knows my friend that I've been looking for forever. Who are these people? There's this magnificent... I'm very curious about this beautiful, magnificent, pink-eyed, multi-feathered things. There are all these creatures. Someone's hanging over from over there. And I just want to kind of use sense to work out how I can gain the upper negotiating hand in this moment. Like I don't want to have to resort purely to brute tactics, like just essentially threatening this young the Prim's life, because I kind of basically have them in a cage, right? I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I can do before I have to be the pirate, which I can be, but like I will only make that decision after I'm absolutely certain that it's the only thing. Yeah.
So sense can 100% be the skill that you're using. Which of your edges would you like to bring in? Grace as like an agile way of looking at everything. Iron, instinct, sharps, teeth.
I would like to use sharps, please.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Yep. And sharps and sense, make that roll. How many dice are you rolling?
So sharps, I get 1. And then for sense, I get 3 more dice.
That's 46. Make that roll. Listen, Axel is min-max.
2 5s again.
Excellent. Okay, that's a conflict with a twist.
Yeah.
So you get what you're looking for, but I think these other wild sailors get a chance to respond before you can act on it. And I'll also give you a twist in addition to that. So, looking around, this ship has been sailing eastward. You kind of intercepted them when they entered the East Green, right? Which is where you are, where your home is currently, and the place that you call yours. Yeah. They were cutting a course quite quickly. That's also part of why they were a bit easy to sneak up on, plus the perfect weather conditions. They seem to be in a hurry. Okay, this ship with its voltaic runners and copper hide and thrumming engine somewhere below deck was churning it. They were like hoofing it east. So you know that they were looking for something. Something that if you can figure out what it is they're looking for, you'll probably get the upper hand. And now, looking downward here at the Prin, their eyes flash with recognition at you, and there's something else that they've hooked onto as well. It was Iffy's face that swam in front of both of you, and now a different face swims between the two of you as well. The one scion that isn't on this ship. Both of you now see in your mind's eye the scion of heart, Hylian Omergen. Her visage swims between the two of you. And you recall this visage, not just as like a general knowledge of the scion, but in a specific context. A week ago, rather. And the Prin had hooked onto that. So you get like a pretty good sense of maybe who these people are looking for.
Okay.
You've got 2 scions here already. Not a stretch of the imagination to say that maybe the third is who they're pursuing. And I think you have information on that third scion, right? Given what Axel knows of the Wild Sea.
Yeah.
The read that you get on the rest of these sailors is... First, there's the healer, who has just sprung off of Vosh, was like grappling Vosh's head between her legs and has now landed. And Benny, who is usually never taken off guard, has a bleeding Achilles heel. So this healer is very precise, very logical, I think, you get the feeling that there are very few obstacles that this person could not surmount through sheer willpower or determination. And I think there's a reason why you're drawn to this woman first, something about her seems to resonate within you. You see that same focused thread within her that you have within you to find Iffy. That same, like, single track mind. Up against impossible odds. I think immediately he'll come to that resonance. The person dangling from the manticore's nest, there's a giant ghost wolf still, I think, in the observation deck that he seems to have summoned. He has this, like, hat on, this shawl going, looks kind of like a cowboy, right? Just billowing in the winds, hanging on for dear life. And yet, looking at his face, you see this kind of, like, purple skin with these painted on streaks of a kind of neon green that go from the corners of his eyes down to the sides of his jaw. And there's something in the eyes and the wrinkles of it that feels really sad. Just deeply, very sad. Even in the midst of fight, when he should be focused on his life, he just seems sad.
Okay.
And then there are the twins. Not your twins, right? Not Lena and Levi, but the other twins. These wild sailors have twins too. There is the pink-eyed woman who made eye contact with your spider scout and with you. She feels, well, there's no other way to put it. She feels faded. Like, as soon as she surfaced, it kind of feels like she became the center of attention, right? All of the other pirates that boarded kind of all turned. They looked at you at first when you whistled, but then their eyes kind of swiveled to her and their body language pivoted toward her. Like, she commands a room as soon as she enters it, right? And she has that long sword out. Her, like, white mane of hair is billowing like a cape behind her. There are cherry blossoms in her hair, right? Rippling down past her, literally like announcing her entrance. And this is a person who feels immensely important, not because she's full of herself, but because it almost feels like the world bends around her and, like, is important to her. And then there is her twin, who I don't think you notice until a beat after she arrives. He's kind of like the shadow version of her, or rather like a plant. If there were two plants, then hers has grown so brightly and so beautifully that the shadow it's cast on his has made him wither. He's not had the same sunlight to sustain him. They look identical, but he is masculine, and he has this dark hair, those antlers curled around, and a kind of very violent aura about him. The way he's brandishing those moon knives, those sickles, those crescent swords feels ferocious, and it feels vicious. And when you look at him, something pings within you. He's radiating a similar kind of aura. You see a black snake tattoo, I think, peeking up just at the base of his neck that pings within you. And I think a face pops into your mind's eye of a wrinkled, pale, unassuming old man upon an unassuming monk ship from a week ago. It's the same kind of resonance, but to a lesser degree. Yeah. If the old man, let's say, were a eclipsed sun of some kind, then this man, this boy on this ship right now is a small collapsed star. So the same kind of darkness, but to a much lesser degree.
Still not to be trusted, though.
That's for you to decide. That is the pulse you get on these sailors. There's also the scion of Basi Zahar, who has now, like, rushed to the side of the Triforodon. She's an open book, kind of like you, very brash, hot-headed, clearly cares a lot about her pet, about her companion, the Triforodon. You get the sense that she's very strong. You see her immediately grab both of your, like, very strong, big, burly pirate crewmates and, like, fling, like, with just her hands, fling them off of the net and, like, throw the net off of her pet, and she lets out a squall as she's, like, letting the net free and running to her friend. And then there's the Prin in front of you, who is the one scion that you're most familiar with, as you are from the Surge originally. And the Prin is unruffled, or at the very least appears unruffled despite all of this, seems to have a very difficult to read disposition. But how much of that is because they're very cool-headed versus that's just kind of who they are? Like, they just don't really emote very well, or, like, a lot, or expressively at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's a toss-up. So that's the reading you get.
Yeah.
Before you get to respond, Xainan, Lumièra, and Seir. The three of you get a chance to, I think, do one thing in response. Whether that is combative or, I think, more negotiatory. Because as soon as the captain had made that whistle, I think the other pirates kind of started to back off. They will only fight back if you initiate again against you.
I think Lumièra, upon seeing like their culling whistle, essentially, she will rise up slowly from like her crouching stance of where she kind of got like thrown back by that gust of wind, and she backs up, but her knife is still like out at the ready, tight in the hilt of her hand out to the side, and her eyes are jumping between the three people she was just up against, and also trying to figure out what the hell it is that I am actually looking at right now in relation to the captain. So it's like not wanting to take her eyes off her target, but also being like, what the hell? Like that bounce back between those two.
What about Seir?
What has Sing done so far since arriving on the deck? This is very important for my decision making.
So, Sing had turned away from you and is now in the process of striding toward Axel, sword drawn. And I think she even lets out a, "Hey! You're the captain, right?"
Okay. I think hearing that, Seir's large ears prick, and the crescent blades that were in mid fall down towards either of the twins falls clanking against the deck, piercing into the wood. And he stops, pulls the crescent blade up, looks around. His blade is still at the ready. It's spinning in his hand. But he's watching the twins, and like a guard dog, watching his sister move. And I think he finally takes the whole space, where Lumièra is, where Sing is, and where Xainan is. And I think as the lull continues, blades still out, he's watching the twins, but he takes a step back, closer towards the Manticrore's nest.
And dangling above the Manticrore's nest is Xainan. What do you do?
First things first. There needs to be something underneath this man's feet. Xainan, with a big grunt, swings himself back towards the Manticrore's nest, and I think is a little bit cautious of thinking that he's going to run into Morn, forgetting that this is a spectral pigwolf and not a physical thing, and kind of stumbles a little bit, and then rights himself and swings that rifle out, just looking. Not willing to engage and waiting for an answer from Sing's query.
Where are you training the rifle on?
I think he pulls it out and is going to aim towards the feet of the person that is extremely close to Prin Him Si Hyung.
Yes. Aiming toward Axel's feet, many of them as you can approximate. Correct. Yes. So, cutting back to you now, Axel, the fight has kind of come to a standstill. No more blows are being exchanged. No more weapons are flashing through the air. There's a bit of like a tense pause between both factions here, right? And the twist that you get is Abasi Zahar from the aft jumps on Squall's back, goes, and the Triforodon takes off with two huge beats of its wings, launching off four clawed paws into the air and starts to glide down. And Abasi jumps off of Squall as Squall soars overhead and lands right next to you. And she just kind of lets out a "Ah!" First, that massive 8-foot-tall fire woman attacks my home, and now some pirates raid us. What's next? Leviathans? What do you want, lady?
Okay, that has absolutely clued me in on like exactly what I have been looking for my entire life. But also, I absolutely want to maintain like equilibrium. Like I don't want to like lose any hand, even if we just stabilize. So like out of Axel's forearm, really quickly, you see like the sort of like dead, discarded skins of like old spiders like form out and form blades, one directly at Abasi and then one directly at the Prim, and say, everybody take it very, very easily. We can talk, but I would like to do it from equal ground.
You put your blades down, we'll stand down.
Axel takes one final glance around and looks
Seir.
at you, Seir.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to know?
And says, not before they drop that sickle in the ground like the other.
Seir looks at you, and there's a deep fire inside of his eyes. And he regards you, and he sees that blade close to the Prin and close to Ablasi. And there's a flash of something. Protectiveness? But his eyes look up towards the Manticrore's nest. At Xainan.
Xainan feels your gaze. The rifle hasn't moved. But he can see you out of the corner of his eye. And you just see a small nod of a black hat.
He grunts, places the sickle, leans and places the sickle down, and stands up to his full height.
Axel chuckles. Intimidation.
No intimidation, a promise.
Seir.
Fair. You see Axel like sort of reconsumes those blades, like they're like as one with them as any other bit of them, and puts their humanoid arms down, but doesn't release the cage. Like there's still a cage of like black limbs coming out around the Prim, and they say to the Prim, because the Prim is so far as Axel can tell, the most open. Tell me about this Igni.
Yes, she is the aforementioned 8-foot-tall woman that burned down part of the Raya. Just yesterday, I looked into their eyes when they abducted me from the guest chambers of the Raya, and I peered into a little bit of their past, and through their eyes I saw someone who looked a lot like you, but a little bit younger. You're dead, though. Or Igni thinks you're dead. They saw you die. They think they saw you die.
That's not right. They fell overboard.
Yes, they did. A fireball hit them. They took the hit. They were very strong to have taken the hit. Then they woke up. The next thing they remembered, they were pulled onto some vessel. There was a man. I think they thought of him as the Baron? And then the Baron showed them the burned down remains of the fourth guide. But the fourth guide is right there, and it looks very beetle-like.
It is. It's a beautiful beetle. It's our home. Tell me what more you know. The Baron, do you know where she went?
I can perhaps attempt to ascertain where they went, but are your friends going to attack us afterward?
You see that Axel begins to sigh in Old Hand, looking for Umber. Umber still
Yep.
sort of...
Umber has retracted the grappling hook, is pulling up to their full height. I see 3 raised hands from my cast. Okay. As Umber starts to stride forward, there's a very strong determination to their walk. I want to know what Nova is up to during this exchange.
I think Xainan just, I have a point in Old Hand. And is just gonna follow that his assailant's name is Umber, at least understanding what it is in Old Hand, maybe not necessarily to say it in Low Sour.
Okay, Seir, Lumièra, is that similar to what you were gonna say?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all 3 of you know Old Hand. That's so funny. Yeah, so as soon as Captain Axel gestures, you know that they're referring to their first mate, Umber, and for Umber to come over. And what other commands are you giving Umber in Old Hand, or is it just for them to arrive?
So, I basically want Umber to manage the falling back of our crew, but keeping a tight eye. Like, don't lose the upper hand, and immediately deal to any wounded. Like we're not waiting until we get on the ship. The last thing I saw was a split Achilles heel that's gotta hurt. Like, immediately begin sorting out getting care for those people, but also Umber knows all too well, and I hope I can as my first mate, I hope that they will work out what to do next, but I want them to reposition themselves in a way that looks innocuous but gives us some kind of like additional strike if he'd need it. Like,
sure. Be like, peaceful, but not unguarded, and on your toes, ready to take the high ground if needed. Okay.
Yeah.
Umber sheaths that grappling hook, nods at the Old Hand, and does a mixture of Old Hand and whistling, which is a special kind of, I think, pirate code specific to your ship. And as soon as the whistle is given, Nova, you can tell that it's similar to like attack formations that you will have drilled at Trans. And the pirates move without talking. They just split off. All of them sheath their weapons and they just disengage from your crew. Like, they disengage from the aft, they pick themselves up. Several pirates flock to where Benny and the other members of the polycule are and immediately start patching them up, right? But you also all notice that the pirates don't just all flock to one side of the ship. They take up stations basically aft, starboard, and port. So they form kind of a triangle, so they can like spring to action from any direction if need be at a moment's notice. But so far they haven't. Umber, though, does not join the rest of the pirates. They actually step out of order. Actually, they don't usually do this, and they stride forward to approach you, Axel, as the Prin talks about this Igni person who feels very familiar to Iphigenia. Yeah. And Umber cuts in without asking, without being told, addresses the Prin. What are you going on about, Scion? And the Prin finally tears their eyes away from you and turns to Umber. Oh, hello. You're the first mate, I assume. I'm just telling your captain about information they seem to be seeking. The information they seem to be seeking is not information anyone would have, because they seek a ghost. And I am not a merchant of false hope.
I do hear this, right? I hear this entire exchange.
All of you hear this.
Seir stalks forward like a caged lion and says, "There is no ghost. I fought her myself."
Umber whips around on her heel and glares at you. You tower over her, but she holds your gaze, unafraid. Our captain has asked many wild sailors, many naval officers, many poachers, many vagabonds and bandits and con men of every stripe and size the same question. Some of them are truthful and say they've never seen such a tall, broad-shouldered woman before, but others lie. They think it will get them a kinder fate than being devoured by the seas like they deserve. I do not tolerate con people or liars. Like I said, I am not a merchant of false hope. Captain Axel, these wild sailors are lying to you. We cannot believe them.
Umber, this is the first moment of even a shred of accuracy from another sailor on the seas. Why would you deny me this?
Perhaps they have heard of us. Perhaps they have heard of Captain Axel, the Silkskin, seeking answers about a woman that no longer exists.
Umber, I know you do this from kindness, but you are doing me great harm.
I do not do this from kindness, Axel. I do this from love.
Fall back.
And Umber opens their mouth, and you see it again. As always, the choice between pushing forward and falling back. And unlike the last time we saw her, she chooses to push forward. She steps toward you. No. Axel, this quest has tormented you for too long. I cannot see you torture yourself like this. How many more sprints will you take our crew on? Benny, Vosh, Pan, and it's not just them. We miss our families. We miss our homes. We need a break. You need a break.
Did you not hear your captain? I think what they said was fall back, and Umber, with all due respect, that is your name, correct? Do not ever call my friend a liar again. You know nothing of which you speak. We have seen and fought Igni. I've seen the destruction in which they have caused, so do not tell any of us that we are lying. We know what we saw. Listen.
Also, it's rich that you think that the dead can't come back, and Xainan holds his hand up and pets Morn.
Spirits are common on the wild sea, sharpshooter.
Then why can't they be common now?
Flesh? In flesh and bone and skin, as my captain seeks her. Never. Once death takes you, you are gone. Once oblivion claims your soul, you cannot come back from the darkness under eaves.
You see that Axel, in a moment, Axel is an incredibly soft-spoken individual. Their ship, for all intensive purposes, is like, whichever one it is like a silent, like heat-seeking missile. And this is one of the first times that Axel raises their voice. It is hoarse. It doesn't do this often. It crackles with betrayal, grief, a kind of rage as they yell at Umber, "You are disobeying a direct order, first mate. Fall back."
Umber snaps their jaw shut and flinches back as though burned. They yank their gaze away from Lumièra, away from Xainan, away from Seir, hook it back onto you. Their mouth opens, once more. And then they close it. Tighten their jaw. Step back. And then in a voice so low only you can hear. They're very good at that, Axel. Umbra says, "Do not just take them at their word, Captain. You deserve proof beyond visions." And then they finally take those few steps back and disengage for now.
Seir catches Lumièra and her defense, and his eyes widen as yet another orchid blooms beneath his hair. And he turns back to look directly at you, Captain. This behemoth of a man is so focused on you, almost interested, as his lion-like tail swishes like a cat looking at a shadow on a wall.
I think so. Axel's taking all of this new information in and is just trying to find the wood for the trees, as it were, and is kind of like, okay, destruction. That doesn't sound like iffy, but there's this kind of growing, like, gnawing pit of like, oh no, and finally asks the question that they've been afraid to ask, is, you saw a great, broad, powerful woman destroying your home?
A mountain. Unmovable.
What color
She
were her
fights
eyes?
crimson, arterial.
Yeah, Axel, that's not the Iffy you remember. Every other part of this description matches perfectly. But Iffy's eyes are black. Crimson. That's not right.
In perhaps a moment of foolishness, you see Axel sort of disengage the cage and I want to use... Okay, tell me if this is nonsense. I would like to try and use my aspect tremor sense
Okay.
to get a sense of like heartbeats, anxiety levels. Is anyone lying? I know people are intense, like the stakes are high here, but I'm trying to sense, is there a way that I can use this aspect to tell if anyone is lying to me?
Sure. Yes. As you center yourself and take in these heartbeats, right? I think all other noises, sounds gray out, and all you hear is the of dozens of heartbeats, both on Storm Chaser and still aboard the fourth guide. There are elevated pulses from like the adrenaline of fighting, but notably, every single person who's spoken about this Igni woman who might be iffy, their hearts have been perfectly in cadence, in rhythm. They are not lying. They are telling the absolute, complete truth. There's another heartbeat, bigger than the rest, very large, thrumming not just organically, but with electrical energy underneath your feet. In the engine room of Storm Chaser. It sounds like zzz, 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 zzz. It sounds massive. It sounds like it could be the heart. Wait a minute. You've heard a similar heartbeat before. Several years ago when you were making the fourth guide, the ship truly your own. You've heard a similar kind of heartbeat before. This is the heartbeat of a Leviathan. This ship is powered, not unlike yours, by a part of a Leviathan.
And I am now fascinated and enamored.
Yep.
And
Yes.
like
Uh-huh.
I absolutely, I'm like riddled with excitement from this. Your ship is that heartbeat a Leviathan? I'm just
What?
asking this into space. Like,
So Lumièra actually steps up, kind of shuffles up alongside to Xainan and taps him on the shoulder.
He's up in the Manticrore's nest.
God dang it. Okay. I have to. All right. Retcon. Lumièra shuffles over to the Manticrow and yells upward. That's what I was trying to tell you. Every time I tried, everything went to hell in a handbasket. Can you come down? This is a lot to yell. Please?
When Axel would have gotten to Xainan's heartbeat, it actually was a little elevated, not from the fight, from the word oblivion rolling around and around and around in his head. But the exclamation that the ship has a Leviathan heart in it kind of snapped him out of it. He looks down at Lumièra. What? There is not a Leviathan in this ship. I've been all over. Oh, okay.
She
I'm
is
coming
frantically telling you to, like, gesturing for you to come down. To come down to the day.
Hop down, old man. I'll catch you.
No.
The Prin looks up at you, Axel, and gives a very authentic nod. The Prin's heart rate this entire time perfectly steady, like completely still, like completely composed. It just says,
I love that.
Yes, Lumièra and I just found that out. Our engine is the heart of a... I don't know if I'm at liberty to say, really. It's not very much my story to tell, I think. But it is our ally. It is our friend, I think. I hope. Storm Chaser wishes us well. And I think you have something we might want as well. That face. Not Ignis. The other Scions. Omergens. It flashed in your mind's eye, too, when I went looking through your home. Home being your memories, of course. Have you seen Omergen?
You see that all of a sudden, like, all of the tension sort of leaves Axel completely, and they go, that. And, like, they're sort of tattoos, if you will, negative space tattoos kind of, like, move and shift around as they go. A week ago, I saw them out on the Verdant Sea, the Armagen, sailing, yes.
Where was she? Where were they? And
Okay,
this is
come,
Abasi
Abasi.
immediately rushing forward, like right next to you. Actually reaches forward, not in like an intimidating gesture, but they just have like no thoughts, no filter. They try to like grab onto the front of your shirt, ? And like shake you.
Yeah.
Where is she? Where did you see her?
Again, like more tattoos shifting. I think it was,
And Axel, you would be able to, I think, through the shifting tattoos on your body, conjure a pretty accurate map of where you saw Omergen and like an idea of their trajectory too.
Okay, excellent. So what I would do then is I would again use Shirk the Skin and sort of release a bunch of spiders out of me to create this map in front of the Raya's feet and go there.
Oh, that is terrifying, but also so interesting. How do you do? Lumièra has been walking laps around you this entire time, like looking you up and down, like how does, and you're able to move all of them separately, like
I
touch,
am all of them.
and then inside there's more.
Legion. And then so I'll sort of release my little face, and I'll release the sort of silks around that form my face, and all of the cute tiny little jumping spiders make just one big full cute face of just "Meow," and then my face comes back.
Y'all handle that. Lumièra backs up. Arms across her chest. She's just like, I want no parts.
Xainan genuinely starts laughing, seeing Lumièra turn away after having such acute scientific interest in a new life form. You'll have to excuse our very well-intended healer, Lumièra. I think we got off on the wrong foot. Captain.
Thank you.
You can also tell that one over there, and she's like pointing in the direction of the one whose Achilles heel she cut.
Mm-hmm.
If you need any hemp stitches to sew the tendon back together before you suture it, those tend to be the best ones. You don't have to go in and cut them out later. They kind of dissolve and just...
Thank you. I take that as an olive branch. And Axel's just gonna note in their mind that the wounded member of the polycule will get extra treats tonight.
Yes, extra gelato, extra gelato.
Extra
Their
gelato.
date, yes.
I think what Lumièra means to say is, welcome aboard, Storm Chaser. We would love to have a little conversation.
I think a conversation is exactly what is required. And at this point, Axel loves a little hospitality, and loves to sort of entertain people, and there's no better place to do that than at their home. So they're going to send a little bit of old hand back to Umber. And if there was a quality with which this old hand was happening, there's a slight apologetic quality to how they're communicating to them. They don't want to be fighting, but this is, I just want this to get done, to go back home, to prep the ship, to make sure that the pots are boiling, to make sure everything's ready. I kind of feel safe here and I can manage this, and I'll walk my way back. But depending on how negotiations go, I will be bringing my guests.
Sure. And all of you catch this in old hand as Axel signals toward Umber. Umber, hands behind her back, takes this in stride, gives you a little bit of an icy nod. Right? Hasn't forgiven you completely for how you've talked to them, but kind of gives in a little bit and signals back of course. And then they let out another sharp whistle, and all of the pirates begin to disperse back toward the starboard side of Storm Chaser, where we see they throw various grappling hooks up. They pirates that are mounted on the fourth guide bring down gangplanks for them to start returning back to their ship and carrying their injured and tending to them. As the other pirates and crew members begin to exit, Umber is one of the last to leave, and they kind of place a hand on your back, Axel, and they say again in that low tone that I think only the Prin and Lumièra can hear.
Okay.
Be careful, Axel. I'm trusting you on this, and as far as I can tell, we can likely take these wild sailors at their word. I very much hope they are telling the truth. I'm here for you, no matter what happens.
Thank you, Umber. I am sorry I spoke to you in that manner. I hope that this is the truth that I have been seeking, and if it isn't, we will return home to see our families.
If it isn't, I will have an example made of them. And her voice rises at that.
Seir scoffs.
Lumièra does
Holds your
cackle.
gaze again, right? Like steely, and then pivots over to Lumièra, holds your gaze as well.
You don't
Yours
scare
in
me.
particular, Lumi.
That's what she tells. She's like, you don't scare me. I've seen scarier things. With all due respect.
Oh, with all due respect, is it? You remind me of someone I know very well. And Umber's eyes flick back to Axel for a hot second, and then they turn and go to embark upon a gangplank. One of the last people to leave.
Brilliant.
Axel full like belts and chuckles and laughs at that. And then I think immediately leads with, so who wants to see a Leviathan heart?
I do, actually.
And basically, I think they kind of want to like win them over and begin diplomatic discussions and sharing of information, but on the fourth guide, and sort of take them on like an interior tour, also knowing full well that they can fight a lot better on their home territory. So
Sure.
yes, this is all Ben and very kind, but also like this kind of gets me a win. Yeah.
Yeah, Nova, do you go with Captain Axel to board the fourth guide?
I look at Pop Pop.
Seir does as well. He looks at his sickle that's still in the ground, sees that Axel is inviting us to the other ship, and looks back at Xainan, and you can tell that he's deeply uncomfortable with the state of affairs.
Xainan starts to follow Axel, but kind of leans back, leaning towards actually Sing.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to worry about, right? Got the chosen one of fate with us.
We'll handle it. We won't fail. I won't fail. Not again. And
Trust
Sing,
in her will.
trust in her will. Sing sheaths her longsword with like a very confident, assured motion and strides forward as the first to follow Axel. And there's a kind of urgency in her step, the urgency of someone who is determined to prove herself. And I think with that, Nova boards the fourth guide. Abasi comes with. Abasi this entire time has been on her hands and knees copying the map into her journal. Like the same journals that you found like way back in Siren Song, like copying them, right? As like Axel's skin, I think, picks up and then like rejoins the rest of the captain, like from being on the ground. Yeah.
While it kind of trails behind. They can't be too far away.
Yes, exactly. And Squall also, I think, lands on the deck beside all of you, kind of rocking Storm Chaser. And Abasi rushes over to Squall, pats the neck, and Squall lets out a as if kind of upset that he has to join the fourth guy that very rudely threw a net over him, but ruffles his feathers and is convinced as well. So I think as all of Nova boards the fourth guide, despite this being, I think, a diplomatic tour at first, by the time all of you resurface on top, after Axel shows you the engine room, which we'll get to in a second, I think the top of the deck has been starting to be decorated as though for a party. But before we get there, first, Axel, you said you were going to show these sailors your Leviathan aspect, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so deep in the heart of the fourth guide, again, this ship is 2 to 3 times the size of Storm Chaser, so there are multiple levels below deck, kind of in the deepest area, in the center of where the ship's central mast would be, kind of right underneath that central big post, is the engine room. And unlike Storm Chaser, the engine room for the fourth guide has various different entry points, almost like the below decks are like an insect's nest, right? With various different tunnels leading to different rooms and chambers. And Axel, you guide your tourists basically through one of these tunnels, open up the door, and all of you see a intimate and yet still vaulted and rather ornate chamber, and the center of it is a cocoon. It's about the size of the Leviathan heart in Storm Chaser's engine room. It's a large cocoon. There's various pieces of webbing that kind of string it upright so it's suspended in the center of this room, and it's glowing faintly, and something inside it seems to be moving and rattling every now and then.
Is the Prin down here with us?
Oh, 100%. All of you are down there, except for Squall. Squall's above deck.
I think... oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I think me and the Prin immediately lock eyes. Our eyebrows, like Lumièra's eyebrows shoot up to her forehead. Like...
Yeah, the Prin's face for the first time actually emotes, and it's like pure awe and excitement. Disgusting. Just like the heart. I love it.
Do you mind if I take a look around? I won't touch anything unless I ask first. She's like reverberating right now.
Of course you may. And Axel has picked up on the fact that like something about them, like not in like a offensive way, kind of makes you uncomfortable. So they've been like cultivating more silks around their spiders, just like trying to like make more coverings for to make sure that you feel a little bit safer. And as they're sort of doing this, they're kind of talking, they're sort of rattling off telling this tale about how they saved this sort of cocoon from a beetle guard, Kami Kabuto, and says you can absolutely have a look and kind of inspect it if you want, but don't touch anything.
Yeah, the story as Axel tells it is there were not just one ship, but a small fleet of poachers were trying to basically take down the Leviathan a couple months, maybe even a couple years ago at this point. Kami Kabuto, a great beetle god. But the fourth guide came in, and under Axel's leadership, they were able to essentially dispose of the poachers, give them, the consequences they deserved, right? Cut them away from the beetle god. Unfortunately, Kami Kabuto's wounds were mortal. This mighty beast was mortally wounded, but with kind of its last breath, gifted the fourth guide this cocoon, their child, their next self, to serve as an engine, and allowed parts of their body, including their chitin and their shell, to serve as the hull, as silent and effective defenses for the fourth guide, as a gift for helping them in their hour of need.
Lumièra has been bouncing on her heels, like bouncing back and forth between the balls of her feet and her heels the entire story. Like, obviously paying attention, but like waiting for that, okay, like class dismissed, like type of...
Yes, please, at your leisure, take a look.
I peel off. Immediately.
You're off. You immediately start just like looking at various aspects of the cocoon. Seir.
And there she goes. As he like follows Lumièra, like running towards the engine. And Seir softens, Captain. I think you see that. He was initially very uncomfortable. He still left his crescent blades on the deck of the Storm Chaser and walked here. But as you told your story, this brutal, violent man softens and is very, very attentive at your deed. And you can see that he's shifting about, kind of like looking at Xainan, looking at this whole thing with amazement, because it's really cool, but he's trying to contain it. But it looks like he's waiting for you to query more. He's waiting for the next shoe to drop.
Axel getting a read on this, I think, sort of comes to you and says, you don't always have to have your guard up, you know.
And he's genuinely taken aback because you clocked him 100%. And he just kind of goes, sorry, have it. That's what I'm trained
Xainan
for.
genuinely laughs too, just a little bit to the side, trying to not show it to Seir, but you it's not super well hidden.
He looks back at you like,
Axel sort of like grabs you by the shoulders, as like sort of big as you are, but like holds you by the shoulders and goes, relax, have a good time. There's food and drinks and treats upstairs. Take a load off for once.
Okay, sir. Sure. And he semi-relaxes a little bit, but he's still kind of like, as you tell him to relax, you see the youngness, the boyishness finally peer out from behind the mask of the guard dog, the protector. And he like tries to relax, and he looks at Xainan, and he looks at you, and he's like, I'm relaxing. This is me relaxed.
Good.
Yes.
If you don't let that little boy out, whatever's eating you up will consume you. All right, so Lumièra, what do you think? Ooh, I'm gonna look over at Xainan, and I think Axel's just kind of like just trying to like penetrate these kind of dark brooding people that's kind of going, so basically the equivalent of you come here often. Like it's just one of those like, so
Xainan has loosened up a lot since coming down out of the Manticrore's nest, and what was basically like a shadow of a person, just the outline, the specter of this gunslinger silhouette. Being down on the deck, he's gotten a lot warmer and has you can see that there's a fondness, and seeing someone poke at Seir to be a boy, be a kid, have a good time really does actually warm him. But there's something about how he put it that if you don't let that boy out, and Xainan listens to this as well, and I don't think he hides it very well that he is also listening to your words. But he's also just smiling and looking at this strange glowing set of silks. He's not that technologically savvy about what's going on here, and it's not hard to see that, but he's definitely like, this is fascinating if nothing else.
Okay. I think Axel, as a lover of people and a reader of people, will clock very much that you're taking that on as well, like you're taking on the words that they shared with Seir as well. And just kind of sort of like begin a level of small talk that is more kind of probing, like do you want to know how it works, explaining little bits if you're sort of interested, and really you can kind of feel that in a non-threatening way they're sort of closing distance with you physically. It's something that happens there's a sense of ease coming off of them about this. They're not like being like probing or intrusive, but they are very much tactile as an individual. So as they explain things to you that your shoulders are touching, there's a sense of like putting their arm around you as they talk through things more. There's a warmth that's just naturally exuding off of Axel towards you.
Unlike probably a lot of people that put off the airs that Xainan does, he doesn't even shirk away. He doesn't flinch. He welcomes it. he welcomes the closeness in a way that I think is incongruent with a lot of the rest of him.
Yeah, I think that having read that like sort of level of comfort very much, but also very much, oh no, Axel can't do that. Lumièra's in the room. Damn.
Oh, okay.
Yes. First of all,
okay,
minds
yeah.
out of gutters. I am a legion
Listen.
of spiders.
Xainan
think
is
that
our
would
resident
stop
man.
Xainan?
Okay.
Me, Sam, the player goes, and?
I'm like,
This boy is a bottom. So Soohyun turns to you, Axel.
yes.
On the heels of the story about Kami Kabuto, as everyone's kind of like starting to take in this cocoon, starting to settle into this degree of comfortability, and says very plainly and openly for everyone to hear, if a Leviathan has chosen to bless you with a gift of their reincarnation, then you must be trustworthy. You are a friend to the Wildsea, and so you are a friend to me.
Excellent. Would you like to try some of my stew?
Yes. I am a pescatarian.
I am sure we can accommodate you.
Excellent.
And I think I'd like to spend some time speaking with Lumièra. I think that's they're purely because of my physique as well. They're the hardest person for me to kind of like ingratiate myself to, because and Axel isn't offended by this. They know that they're a pile of spiders. It's fine. They're okay with it. They've made peace with themselves. They have self-love. But like I think that they kind of also want to like make one beeline connection over there.
Yeah, I think as you head over to where Lumièra is, Sing, I think, was in the middle of also interfacing with Lumièra, had actually flourished a palm, and out popping from her sleeve is a rig-ferret. A little kind of slinky, minky ferret guy who kind of, with its like furry little face, she says, oh, this adorable little creature hopped on me while we were making our way below deck. I think they want to say hello to you.
Me.
Cheep, cheep. Cheep, cheep.
Lumièra looks so confused and like looks back at Sing again. Her eyebrow is like way high up, like you're of course you're serious. Okay. Hi, hello.
Cheep, cheep, cheep.
Oh, okay. Immediately. I guess you are kind of cute. She like scratches like at the top of its head, just like, all right. I don't understand what that means.
I think it means they like you. I think it means they like you a lot.
Well, it is pretty adorable. And I think I like it too. I like it a lot.
Yeah, as you're scritching the top of this rig-ferret's head as Axel comes up, and Sing, I think, twists their hand, and the ferret kind of fluidly goes back into the sleeve of their robe. Seir, you see all of this. See all of this blatant flirting right in front of you, right in front of your salad. But Sing turns, I think, kind of like bows a little bit, curtsy to you, Axel. Even though there's very much a cheerful, confident, bright demeanor, her eyes, those pink, intense eyes, are still focused on you a little bit carefully as she like backs off and lets you approach Lumièra.
Okay.
I like squeeze her shoulder, just like gently a bit as she walks away.
Okay. Axel approaches you, and you immediately notice that there are way more silk wraps. Just like as many silk wraps as possible. There are areas of little. And in fact, kind of not in an attempt to sort of mock, but the spiders have created a kind of like sort of facsimile of the ornate designs on your costume, on your like clothing. They've sort of done like a kind of crude rendering, but like as best as they can, kind of do it from memory, just to like afford a little comfort. And Axel comes up to you and says, I hope that this aids or smooths our speaking. I know that I can be quite distressing to some.
No, not at all. Actually, that's very interesting that you are able to, like, make that extra silk and then just... What happens when you're done? You just get rid of it? Does it, like, go back?
Oh, I will charge it to a few more spiders in my legion to break down and largely use it for weapons.
Good to know. Good to know. I like what they did with the gears. That's, not many people could pull this look off. And her eyes immediately go back to like looking over like the last little bit of the cocoon that she was looking at. Everything is so different here.
Is it? You sort of see Axel regarding you, and I think there might be like a hint. Oh, I'm going to cause nonsense. There's like a hint of like awe, like a kind of attraction, like a kind of like an unspoken understanding. There's just, they very much picked up on that sense that they are quite similar as individuals, and that your level of curiosity and like wonder invokes like a level of further curiosity from Axel, as they kind of sort of they stand near you again because they're a very tactile person, but they're sort of like gently closing the space but not trying to be threatening in any way. I'm very aware that they are spiders.
Yeah, I think Lumièra, in all of her curiosity, is completely oblivious to any of the alongside. You do catch her eyes linger after saying as they depart for a second, but other than that, like, there's, so you can tell by looking at her, and her eyes are frantically just like scrubbing this entire thing. There's so many thoughts and questions that she has, but her brain is moving faster than her mouth allows it. So she can't articulate where exactly she wants to start her line of questioning. So she just kind of looks at you and blinks very fast.
So Axel clocks that look, that sort of like that lingering glance between you and Sing, and quickly sort of reads that and knows that for what it is. And being the kind of like fluid, slightly more polyamorous individual that they are, kind of goes, okay, cool. All right, I have to reshift gear here a little bit, let that play out, and then maybe at a later date, if they decide to open things up, we can have that conversation. But like, it's definitely like,
I'm just saying, you never know till you ask.
It's definitely clocked in their mind. But Axel comes, sort of looks at you and asks, "You seem, I mean, your crew is quite brash and a little brooding. You seem, there's a light about you I can't quite put my finger on, and I wanted to thank you for coming to my defense. It is embarrassing when a captain is being a captain's orders are being disregarded in such a manner, but you must forgive, Amber. They have my best interests at heart, and I have pushed my crew to their limit."
Lumièra takes that in for a second, and her eyes intently focus on you. And her posture, she typically stands very tall. Her fingers typically steepled if they're not actively doing something. And she kind of recognizes that, and her posture slouches a bit. She sticks her hands into her pocket. I am never one for... And she stops, rolls her tongue across her teeth. When you're in a legion, an order, a group, there's a person that takes point. That person is who we all report to. And that person is responsible for us while out on whatever mission it is. So when your captain says down and you don't back down, where I come from, that is treason.
A heavy price to pay for speaking your mind.
The repercussions vary amongst the severity of the discretion, but we don't take kindly to the disrespect and disobeying of our higher-ups.
Interesting. And in this society of yours, how are these decisions made?
Every family has rules. Rules that are set upon and agreed upon, by which the family itself operates in order to, for all intents and purposes, join. You have to know these backwards and forwards and live by them.
So obedience affords you safety, community.
I think at that, Lumièra gulps a little bit audibly, because she has never really thought of it like that. Obedience affords peace more than anything else.
Peace. I have spent so much time on the Verdant Sea with its ebbs and flows that all is always moving. Peace can be found even in the chaos. So, how does one who, as you say, obeys and seeks order, find themselves with such a motley crew, if you will, and you seem to know much about healing, yet you also do harm. I do not judge. I merely seek to understand.
I am drawn to healing others consistently. I know how the body works, but also at the same time, I understand that not everyone I meet in everyday life and situations are coming to me and at me with the best intentions. So in order for me to protect my family, I also should be somewhat martially capable. No one knows the body better than a person who studies anatomy.
A shrewd assessment by a shrewd and bright and magnificent being.
Okay. Abasi comes up to Seir while that little sidebar was happening, thumps you in the back and says, "Damn, looks like Axel and Lumi's getting close. Walk it off, bro. Walk it off. Walk it off. It's okay."
He just turns over. He just turns over at Abasi and just grunts. Don't you have a map of bugs to draw a map of?
Okay, I've already drawn. They're not bugs, they're spiders, first of all. I've already drawn it. We are so close to finding my nemesis. And
Your nemesis.
listen, if you wanna, impress, maybe you should have gotten a bouquet of ferrets. Sorry, that was out of pocket.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's okay.
All right, where's the booze, Captain? The food, the treats, that stew. Let's do it.
Up on the upper deck.
Woo!
I think Axel would lead them through the ship, affording them every comfort. These are where your bathrooms are. If you want to take a moment, this is a quiet space, etc., and take them up to the top deck.
Excellent. On the top deck, evening has turned fully to night, and the fourth guide has come alive. Jars of fireflies have been placed on crates and stools, casting a bright, merry light in all directions, and those aforementioned adorable rig-ferrets are scuttling along masts and shrouds, the ropes twanging under their tiny little feet like guitar strings. And up on an improvised stage, Vosh, a freshly bandaged Benny, and Pan are knocking together a tune with well-loved instruments, filling the air with music, laughter, and good cheer. Krezer ale flows freely, pirates perch on crates and banisters, drinking in this fresh night air, sharing pints of worm apple cider with friends. And I think we pull in on these celebrants now for a quick little moment with each of you before zooming into a particular corner of this ship. I just want to know what Nova's up to, generally speaking, during the party, starting with Xainan.
Xainan is watching that trio on the stage, and there is a fondness of another set of people laid over them, and he just sits and watches and sips a Krezer ale.
Excellent. Yeah, I think as you're sipping on that Krezer ale, watching all of these pirates who seem extremely comfortable with each other, very intimate and close, we pan across from that sip of your mug to Seir.
Abasi's probably taken me to wherever the drinks are, right? Like, that's what's happening, right?
100%. Yes. You and Abasi, boom, at this set-up improvised bar where there are all kinds of different drinks, alcoholic and non-alcoholic.
Seir has whatever Abasi is having and kind of holds it up and takes a swig. And as he already takes a swig, he plays with that little cup in his hands, And Abasi knows this as like Seir looks extremely hesitant, and kind of nervous as he's like playing around with his cup in his hands.
Yeah, she's knocking back a shot of Spectrogen. What's wrong? You look like someone ate your, I don't know, something that you hold dear to your heart. Your swords. You look like someone ate your swords. What's wrong?
You know I love more things than just the crescent blades, right? You understand that.
Okay, then you look like someone ate your sister. In the bad way.
He starts laughing, and he just like shakes his head and is like, I mean, listen, Sin can get herself out of anything. Seen her? Problems just...
Oh, I've seen her. She's... Anyway.
What
Come
was that?
on. I did try to ask her out, before Igni burned my home to the ground.
And his face, like, changes as soon as Igni's brought up.
Is that what's got your griddles all stuck to your pan?
Yeah. Before we met the captain, it was supposed to be easy. Track down Igni, track down Erecnus, hunt them both down. End the fires. Did you see how they look every time this woman is brought up? How are we gonna tell her? Tell them, rather.
I think that's probably something that Axel is gonna have to deal with.
I don't want to be the one that does that breaking.
I mean, I don't think you have to be. I sure as shit don't want to be the one to break the news to Axel, but I mean, Sukyon's pretty good at just delivering anything to anyone at any time. Tact is not exactly a strong suit of theirs.
No, I actually appreciate it. I like it. I don't have to guess and figure out the politics or anything. I like them.
Me too.
It's just whatever Igni is a part of. I don't know if Axel is ready to know the monster.
I don't know, Seir. Axel strikes me as someone... I mean, we all saw that beautiful cocoon thing down there, right? Like,
It's very cool.
Axel strikes me as someone who's been around the seas, as someone who's lost people more than just this iffy person that Igni used to be, I guess. Obviously, Igni, iffy, whatever, means a lot to them. But I don't know if it's on us to decide how Axel gets to react. Whether it means if and when Axel finds Igni again, too much has changed. They can't be friends anymore. Maybe that's what Igni deserves for being so violent now. But I don't know, maybe Axel can get through to her. Huh. Man. I couldn't really give a shit if Igni sank to the bottom of the wild sea and died today, I'd say good riddance for everything she did to my home. But I guess we've been trying to find Armergen for so long, and I guess I know a little bit of how it feels to look for someone who is important to you. For me, it's someone that I hate and is a nemesis, right? But for Axel, clearly is someone that had some kind of deep romantic, platonic, familial, I don't know, just deep, loving relationship with.
Seir wordlessly puts an arm around Abasi if they so allow, and just like pulls them close to his shoulder and chest, and just squeezes their shoulder. I did so before, but maybe I don't want my path to always be violence. But you're right. Maybe it's not my choice. I'll do what the situation necessitates. It's simpler that way. and he pulls away and tries to lean back against the bar and continues taking another swig of his drink as he just kind of watches everything. And continues conversation with Abasi.
And lighten up a bit, bring out the boy, like Axel said. Come on, all right, you and me here.
Why is everyone
We're
saying
gonna
that?
lock
I am
arms.
relaxed.
I'm gonna drink. We're gonna do the thing where we lock arms and we drink together, okay? All right, here,
Fine,
come on,
right.
come on.
All right,
Right.
yep, all right.
1, 2, 3. Squall, you put that man down! Squall, drop, no, bad! And Abasi runs off as Squall has picked up a pirate in their beak and is kind of like throwing their head side to side like it's a chew toy. And the pirate's going, ah! And we pan across, I think, to find Umber and Axel. Axel, Umber has found you in this moment on the... maybe by the starboard banister, right? Like you've stepped away from your crew who always love to talk to you, right? But you've had like a nice quiet moment, you step away. Umber's leaning against this banister with you, nursing, I think, just clear, purified water. Arms crossed in front of her chest, watching what's happening. And as I think you step up next to her, without looking at you, she takes a sip and then goes, I am not going to apologize. Not for disobeying you, that I will apologize for, as you deserve. But for doubting you all these years. I doubted you because I love you, Axel. And I only ever want what's best for you. But I can say this. I will follow you anywhere, including into the darkness under eaves, if that's what it takes to find Iphigenia.
You see, like, Axel's eyes begin to sort of well up, and their, like, additional silk skin starts to fall away as, like, slowly they are trying to find... They're really good with their words. Like, they're really good at, like, navigating interpersonal relationships and all that. So they're looking for the words, but the more that they look for the words, all they find is a kind of relief and release, and just this quiet, like, weeping, like, just like as all of their spiders just begin to kind of just dissolve and form around Umber, as like they can shed their skin and just be themselves, and they just weep, like just a pile of spiders just weeping from years of holding it together. There's no need to apologize. There's nothing to apologize for. I get it. All of that is unsaid stuff, I think. Axel can't find the words to communicate this moment today. They're like, they now have just unmasked. There's no more mask left. Yeah.
And Umber, even though you're so close to so many members of your crew, Umber is one of the few who can fully, truly hold you when you just need to unravel. And she holds you. Every one of you, every part of you, against that banister, stroking, I think, her hand over your various shoulders, your backs, letting you hold her and holding you in return. I will be by your side, Captain, until the very end. That's what I'll do as your first mate.
I don't think what I'm going to find, Umber.
If anyone can bring Iffy to her senses, no matter what darkness has taken a hold of her, it's you. You've always had a special connection. Deeper than love, I think.
Okay. But first, I think the crew need to go home.
Yes, I agree. I think the trio are very eager to have a date on something that isn't the fourth guide.
Yes.
And I don't know if I can stand one more night listening to them. These walls are quite thin.
Yes. There's not enough gelato in the world.
No, there is not. And I think it's at that point that Soo-hyun just comes up without asking.
Yeah.
Soo-hyun is nursing a cup of what appears to be a deep berry wine of
Mhm.
sorts. Their cheeks are slightly flushed, a little aglow. They come up, no preamble. They say directly to you, Axel, "Hello, I hope you find her. She needs you, I think."
Oh. Axel sort of begins to compose themselves enough. Thank you, and thank you for your openness and your kindness and for trusting me.
Of course. I saw something within you, even before the story of Kami Kabuto. I saw a person that could be trusted. A person who has the Wild Sea's best interests at heart, but more importantly, a person who has their community's interests at heart. We need Amergen. The Scions do. These wild sailors I've been traveling with do. Siren's Song does. The Wild Sea does. We're all better together. Stronger. Kinder.
There are enough seas for all of us.
Yes. Yes, there are. I am very drunk. Goodbye. And Soo-hyun turns and shuffles off. I think we pan across this scene to find Xainan once more. Morn has been out of the pendant this whole time, if you would like. This spiritual ghost pinwolf, I think, has squatted down next to where you are. And even though their wagging tail thumping against the broadwood is kind of ghostly, it still makes a kind of solid noise. It can definitely interact with objects when it wants to. And the silhouette of this wolf, I think, turns its head in your direction as you're observing the party kind of from afar, keeping your distance from these people, and cocks its head a bit inquisitively to the side, and I think leans in and nuzzles the side of your face.
All right. And Xainan pets Morn, feeling the little wisp of what is probably salt in there somewhere, as salt in this realm has such peculiar qualities, and he thinks of the blade in his boot. And he just pats Morn on the head. They do have a beautiful home, don't they? Thank you for today.
And then a ghostly tongue comes out and licks you once on the side of your face.
Yeah. Xainan enjoys feeling a little bit like he is sitting in a barn having a drink with 3 familiar faces and the smell of an animal that isn't a ghost pinwolf, but it feels just for a moment like he is truly home.
Drinking with ghosts, and more than just a wolf by your side. That's where we find you for the rest of the night, Xainan. And I think as we pull away from this vista of celebration, there's a moment as Umber kind of jerks their head in the direction of Lumièra, who we spot maybe. What do we see you doing during this party?
I think Lumièra is kicked back. She's nursing, I think, also a glass of like deep berry wine. I think the same kind that the Prin was drinking, to be honest.
Yeah.
and she's kind of like swirling it around in her glass and like leaned up against the wall with her foot up, and she's just talking shit with Sing. Like they're both like just like in the like just completely like next to each other and like fully engrossed in each other, but just like right there, and are talking just in general.
For sure, 100%. Yeah, I think Sing's in the middle of telling you something, like whispering, leaning in close, whispering in your ear. Like, and you know, I spoke with one of the other crew members earlier tonight. I think her name was Lenny. This infamous pirate queen, Axel, all very intimidating and impressive for sure, but has a very deep, kind streak. Lenny was rescued from a group of poachers that they were serving with just a couple of days ago, and you know, apparently Axel does quite a good job recruiting people from less fortunate positions. Isn't that nice of him?
Someone who is rather fond of picking up strays. Interesting.
Now, are you speaking from a position of experience, Lumièra?
Why would you ask me that, Sing?
Oh, you know, no reason. Just wondering if you like just feeding strays now and then, or if you'll, you know, let them into your home, let them cozy up to you next to the fire.
They have to be a brilliant companion first, before I allow them into my home. Or anywhere near my things.
They should be. You deserve only the finest, Lumi.
That, I think, I can reserve for you, darling.
Oh, shucks. So I was wondering if you wanted to... But that is when, I think, Axel approaches, because Axel, Umber has just told you, kind of nudged you at Lumièra, like nodding, like gesturing a little bit, kind of had even muttered under her breath at you. You know how you always talk about wishing that at least one member of our crew would be brave enough to wave walk with you?
Yeah, it's not really that scary at all. All you have to do is listen to the waves and just listen to the trees. They all grow in a song and a rhythm. Why is everyone so scared?
Because it is quite scary if they don't know what they're doing. I do remember one of our first dates, though. Wave walking together. You know, I think someone like her could benefit from you showing her the ropes.
You are absolutely right, Umber. Thank you.
You're welcome, Captain.
And Axel sort of like spiders at the ready. They're like most fresh, spiffy outfit. Making sure all the spiders are tucked away as much as possible, quite like a high collar, darkened eyes. And there's, as they approach Lumièra, and say, have you ever been walking amongst the waves?
I'm sorry, what?
The waves. It's beautiful out. I know a spot where we can observe some of the local creatures. It is fascinating, truly. Once you traverse the surface and maybe dip below the upper regions of the verdant sea, there are a myriad of species that one can observe and study. And there may be, I could show you some healing herbs.
Show me.
Yes, I could surprise you.
So let me get this correct, Captain Axel. And Lumièra like pushes herself up off the wall that she was just casually leaning against, arms still crossed, and she's once again walking a lap around you, eyes not leaving yours directly. So you're telling me that a humanoid or humanoid-esque figure that has body mass can walk upon the top of waves without sinking?
Well, yes, you see, it really isn't that complex at all. As the verdant sea keeps growing and more branches keep forming, you just have to listen to the rhythm of the sea, and the sea will catch you.
And listening to the rhythm of the sea, and the sea will catch me. Does the sea operate on some...
And I think Sing...
It makes more sense if I just show you.
Yep, Sing tilts her antlers forward and kind of nudges you with their hip a bit. Just says, I think you'd have fun. Go on. I mean, you loved the gardens, right? Now you can get up close and personal with the verdant sea.
You know, it would... Fine. You know I can't say no to you. Fine.
Excellent. Axel sort of like takes a few steps back, lining up the shot, and just jumps and like leaps off the edge.
Am I supposed to do
ship.
that?
Come on, Lumi, go on!
Come on!
Well, good thing is that if I don't knock myself out, I'll at least be able to heal myself. And Lumièra will walk backwards and just breakneck speed. I think she kind of flutters like her cape out back behind her, and kind of like adjusts her stature in the floor, and just barrel speeds and jumps.
Yeah. As you book it toward the banister, Sing jogs backward with you and gives you kind of like a wink and says, we'll do it together, and holds out a hand for you.
I'll grab it, absolutely.
And the two of you run, right? Like people running toward the edge of a cliff before jumping into the lake below. And you like absolutely just leap off of the edge of the banister and vanish into the leaves. The celebration lasts well into the night. The smell of mulch beer and spectrogen lingering in the air until the first rays of morning arrive. The twin moons take their bow, leaving space on the stage for sunrise. Warmth spreads across this rustling canopy of the verdant sea. Flowers open their blooms, morning insects buzz, thrumming birds poke their tiny little heads out of vine-cradled nests, sniffing the air for nectar. The wild sea isn't the only thing waking up. Strike Team Nova, no matter where exactly physically you ended up last night, you do remember to rendezvous on Storm Chaser. We find the four of you now on your ship's Broadwood deck, still wiping the memory of the party from the backs of your eyes. We also see Abasi and Squall. The Scion of Body is leaning very tiredly, a little hungover, against the Triforodon's flank, and Squall also looks kind of hungover. And as for the Prin, they are standing completely alert, very, very bright-eyed at the base of the Manticrow's nest, as though they got a complete full night of sleep. And Captain Axel also stands astride your deck. There is a gangplank that connects Storm Chaser up to the fourth guide, which looms massively beside your ship. And in the morning light, with the fog completely evaporated, you see this vessel in its full glory. Again, 2-3 times the size of Storm Chaser, with a glittering hull of insectoid chitin and scuttling nimble legs, currently at rest upon the undulating waves of the wild sea. The pirates of the guide are mostly all busy readying the ship for departure, but we do see Umber, the first mate, leaning against the banister above all of you, watching your farewell with careful, studious eyes. And now, we push in on Pirate Queen Axel. Axel, these strangers, 4 wild sailors you've never seen before, 2 scions of the seas, a Triforodon, have been your greatest and only lead toward finding your best friend in over a decade. How do you deliver your words of goodbye?
You see Axel standing sort of before them. They've got a little sack that they're sort of like a little satchel that they're carrying with them. And they look at each of them and sort of take them in and regard them. And they say, they begin to say, I have been ever seeking, for the last 10 years, and call it hope or call it sheer stubbornness, or call it the desire to not be proved wrong. I kept seeking, and having met you means I am one step closer to finding my friend, even if I may not like what I see. Thank you for your kindness, your passion and hospitality. And before you go, I am a sort of collector, and I've brought gifts for each of you. Prim, here is some of that wine you enjoyed so much. I
Excellent.
hope you can take some of the spirit and merriment of the fourth guide with you on your journeys.
Thank you so much.
Seir, you see
Sir.
that, like, yes. So formal.
You are captain.
Thank you. I wanted to give you something to help you unwind a bit, but I realized that you might only enjoy it if it also had some sort of practical application. So I went into our stores and found another set of these yo-yos for you. They are both a toy and a weapon. They are also a weapon. But please take some time to foster that childlike energy of yours. Zion, you see that Axel has sort of comes to you with a small, like, little wooden creature, and it's like a small little doll, like a small carving, almost like a child's toy, but not really, like a knick-knack. And they give it to you, and say, this is a reminder for you to remember that you are not alone. You always have people and a home, and if you ever need a place to call your port, the fourth guide will always be there for you. They sort of walk over to Lumièra and And this conversation goes so much easier for them, actually, because they sort of just launch into a detailed explanation of a set of gloves they've given them that are made from like the silk from their spiders. These will help you against the Krezemen. Now, when you hold onto a bark, make sure that you're not touching the surface. Otherwise, you'll be poisoned. The burns, they're terrible. So make sure that you're always making a connection with some kind of barrier part of your body. And remember, just listen to yourself. You are not governed by anyone here, only the waves.
Lumièra's been avidly writing all of this information down. Like, she pulled out like the little book that is like strapped to her belt and has been like adamantly like has been keeping direct eye contact with you, but her hand has been going right across the book effortlessly. And she nods and she smiles, and she'll lean in and speak in hushed tones. We both know. Never give up. Don't let anyone ever tell you that your path, your journey, the way you're going, to the way that brings you peace, that is for you and you only. So you give up when you want to give up. Don't let anybody else dictate that.
Thank you. And I think this is the first time that Axel goes in for a hug. Like,
Lumièra will give you one back.
Yes.
Yeah. She'll give you back.
Yes. Excellent. And I think Axel will sort of give further goodbyes, and then you notice as they leave your vessel, they don't take the gangplank, they just go back into the Verdant Sea. Like, they just go and scuttle away.
Yeah, into the Verdant Sea, and I think like up the side of your own ship, right, to reform upon the deck later. Umber lets out a small smile and like makes a gesturing with Old Hand, and pirates hoist the gangplank up again. It's just kind of like a formality at this point. Right? They hoist it back up, right? Lets out a whistle, and with that, the boarding hooks are disengaged, and the fourth guide pushes off against the leaves with its mighty navipede limbs. And at the same time, Strike Team Nova bustles about Storm Chaser, calibrating the runners, tightening the ropes, setting her wheel on course. The guide clambers westward, toward the direction of sunset, in ardent pursuit of a fallen crewmate resurfaced. And Storm Chaser glides east, toward sunrise, searching for the third and final Scion. And that's where we're going to end the session. Thank you all so much for tuning in for this very lovely, our first ever guest star stream featuring Unati. I have been your game master and creative producer, Connie Chong. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me across the internet at by Connie Chong. That's BYCONNIECHANG. I'm going to pass along introductions over to our guest star, Unati. Where can people find you? Plug your stuff. Let them know where we can support you.
You can find me over at Instagram at Luyanda Lewis Nyao. That is LUYANDALEWISNYAWO. You can then also find me at Twitter at LU Lewis Nyao, and the LU and the L and the N are capitalized. My pronouns are they, them, and this was super fun.
Thank you for being amazing. We all love Axel, our incredible spider body horror. Pirate Captain, passing things along to Val.
Hello, everybody. My name is Valiant Lovewinds Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns. You can find me all around the internet at Valiant Dorian or at Also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure I just set you on. And tonight I have the distinct pleasure of playing the man who needs to lighten up, Seir, who uses he, they pronouns. I'm going to pass introductions over to Kai.
What an amazing session. Thank you so much, Unati, for joining us. I am Kai. I use he, they, and she pronouns, and I played really homesick Xainan Esh tonight, who uses he, him pronouns. You can find me all over the internet as Estelle of Imladris on pretty much all social media platforms, and I cannot wait to see where this new lead takes us.
Hello, everyone. I am Sam, Sam Star. I use she, they, and the occasional they pronouns. You can catch me all over social media, same handle across pretty much everywhere, Lust for Life X. And tonight I have had the most beautiful pleasure of playing our most favorite healer, who also, I guess, wave blocks now and is so utterly confused about why she was so attracted to Axel. So she's gonna be sitting in her section of the ship for a little bit now and pondering on everything at this point in time. And then also the Axel and Sing together. Why not? Porque no las dos. That's me. Connie, take it, please, boss.
Sing's Amazon search history spider costume. So thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of the Chaos Protocol. We will be back next week for our final stream to fundraise for our effort to get to Big Bad Con. So a huge thank you to everyone who's donated so far. Your donations go very far in helping us reach San Francisco for that live show. We're going to be rating someone really awesome right now, no doubt, if someone's still online, because I know we pushed a little long tonight. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We love you all. We will see you next week, same time, same place, Saturdays at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Until then, Bijo.